focusing in on this week, we're going to preview the NBA Finals, which kick off tomorrow night in Oklahoma City, featuring the Thunder and the Miami Heat. It figures to be a great series. Both of these teams have really put up some great performances during these playoffs. We've seen spectacular performances from LeBron James and Kevin Durant. LeBron James making his third Finals appearance now. He lost to the Spurs back in 2007 as a member of the Cavaliers, and of course last year, as his first year with Miami, the Heat were taken down in 6 games by the defending champion Dallas Mavericks. This year, though, it's his third crack at it. We'll see if the third time is the charm for LeBron James and company. They will be matched up against a Thunder team that features a high-octane offense led by Kevin Durant, 3-time NBA scoring champion. He's only 23 years old. He's already really put his mark and stamp on the NBA. They really have had a spectacular run throughout these playoffs. I think they've surprised a lot of teams. Durant has just been spectacular, hitting big-time shots throughout the playoffs. They've gotten great production from starting point guard Russell Westbrook. James Harden, probably the best 6th man in the game today. This figures to be a great series. This is a Thunder team that's only won one championship in the franchise's history, way back in '79 as a member of the Seattle Supersonics. And as for the Miami Heat, their only championship came back in 2006 when they took down Dirk Nowitzki and company with the Dallas Mavericks as they won that championship with Dwayne Wade and Shaquille O'Neal. But this is a different cast of characters now for this Miami team, as we know, with coming in, adding last year the big-time free agent acquisitions, bringing Chris Bosh, signing him to a mega deal, signing LeBron James to a mega deal. That big three in Miami, led by Bosh, Wade, and James, it's now or never for them if they're going to win a championship this year. First, I want to kind of take a look at, we're going to first start with the Oklahoma City Thunder, kind of track them throughout their run throughout the Western Conference playoffs. They started in the first round. They took down the defending champions very impressively, sweeping them away, defeating the Mavericks in 4 games. Then they advanced to the Western Conference semifinals. They took down the Los Angeles Lakers and Kobe Bryant and company. They beat them in 5 games. They won that series 4 games to 1. Then advancing to the Western Conference Finals, they took down a San Antonio Spurs team that had the best record all year long in the NBA in a shortened NBA lockout season, a Spurs team that had won 20 consecutive games, including both Game 1 and Game 2 in that Western Conference Finals, only to lose in the next 4 games to an Oklahoma City Thunder team. A lot of people were really impressed. I was really impressed by the Thunder and how they were able to pull that off. And losing the first 2 games and then come back to win the next 4. It showed a lot of leadership, really good up-and-coming team for this Thunder. This might be their time now. This might be the time that they win the championship this year. This team's only going to continue to get better, better, and better. I've been really impressed by their coaching. Head coach Scott Brooks has done a fantastic job with this team, in my opinion. He's really kept their heads on straight. He's kept them looking forward and not looking back. I think that's been a key factor. They've gotten great production off their bench. So going into this NBA final versus the Heat, I think the Thunder are very well prepared. They've gone through arguably one of the toughest roads in recent history, in recent NBA history that is, to get to an NBA final, defeating 3 teams in the Mavericks, Lakers, and Spurs that have combined for more than half of NBA champions in the last decade. They've accounted for more than half. They've collected more than half the Larry O'Brien trophy. So, very tough road. I think they're battle-tested. I think they have a lot of really good players around Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook. Cephalosha, I think, is going to be huge in this series. Keep your eye on Serge Ibaka. And as I said earlier, James Harden, probably the best 6th man in the game today. I think he's really going to play a key role in this series. As for the Miami Heat, their run throughout these NBA playoffs and the Eastern Conference playoffs, they started out by taking down, in the first round, they took down a New York Knicks team that really was just not up to the challenge. At times, they just did not play enough. Their defense wasn't good enough. So they took them down in the first round, 4 games to 1. They took them out in 5. They then advanced to the Western Conference semifinals and defeated an Indiana Pacers team that really put up a good fight. The Pacers got up in the series, if you remember, 2 games to 1. But Miami did come back, though, and win the series then in 6 games to punch their ticket to the Eastern Conference Finals, where they met a Boston Celtics team that really, and I think a lot of people's minds, really overachieved this year. And Boston took them to the brink. They took them to a 7th game. But LeBron James put up a performance for the ages in Game 7 down in Miami. Scored 40-plus points and really backed up his statement following that Game 6 press conference after they won in Boston to force a Game 7 in Miami. He said that he was going to have no regrets, and he really put up the numbers. He really backed up that statement and really did a good job and got his Miami team back to the NBA Finals for a 2nd consecutive year. So it is the Heat and the Thunder in the NBA Finals, Game 1 tomorrow night in Oklahoma City. I think this series is really going to come down to the depth for Oklahoma City and the production that they got, and they have been getting throughout these playoffs from their guys off the bench and the guys that really contributed in the big-time shots. Harden has had big-time shots. They've gotten some big-time three-pointers when they needed it. Harden, Ibaka, and Sefolosha have been the big 3 key players for Oklahoma City as far as getting that extra production outside of guys like Durant and Russell Westbrook. To me, I think that's the difference versus if you look at the Miami Heat and outside of the big 3, it's kind of been a question mark throughout the playoffs if we're going to get continued, just that continued success outside of the big 3, consistent success. That to me is the question. And as we go into the series, I look at it as the Thunder have gotten that success, that sustained, consistent success from their bench, from their role players. And Miami, it's kind of been a question mark if that production is going to show up on a nightly basis. I do think we're going to see tremendous performances in this series from LeBron James, from guys like Dwayne Wade. I think Kevin Durant is going to be big like he's been throughout these playoffs. I think you're going to see Russell Westbrook continue to be big as well. I think the big question is, if you look at the X's and O's, is Miami going to be able to slow down this attack, this high-octane offense that the Thunder have presented throughout the playoffs? If they can do that, I think it's really going to really close the gaps and really make this a really tight, even series. If they can, and if Oklahoma City just continues to run back and down the court like they have throughout most of these playoffs thus far, I think it really favors the Oklahoma City Thunder. So it should be very interesting how this turns out. LeBron James is going to have to be spectacular again. He's back to the stage again where the lights are going to be shining on him the most. The lights are going to be the brightest on LeBron. Will he deliver a championship for the Miami Heat and get his first ring of his career? It's going to be very interesting. I think this series is going to go 6 games, possibly, potentially 7. I can see this going 7 games, but I'm going to go with a 6-game series. I like the Oklahoma City Thunder to beat the Miami Heat in 6 games. I think Kevin Durant will officially arrive as, if not, we already know he's one of the best players in the NBA. I think he might be the top player in the NBA or the top 2. And I do think that this Oklahoma City Thunder team is going to be around for a long time and be really good in the West. I like them to beat the Miami Heat in 6 games. I think Kevin Durant gets the MVP award. Once again, you're going to want to stay tuned for tomorrow night. Game 1 in Oklahoma City. The Heat and Thunder will battle for the Larry O'Brien Trophy. And that'll do it for this week's edition of Brad's Beat. Tune in next week as we will continue to look at the NBA Finals and all other news going on in the world of sports.